Lesson 5-5, Multiplying Fractions and Mixed Numbers. The main idea of this lesson is to be able to multiply fractions and multiply fractions that are mixed numbers. Remember, a mixed number would be 2 and 1/5, because over here we have a fraction and over here we have a whole number, and that's known as a mixed number. So we're going to be multiplying fractions, and we're also going to be multiplying mixed numbers together. Here's our first example, 1/2 times 1/3. When you multiply fractions, you do not have to worry about having a common denominator. All you do is you multiply the numerators together and you multiply the denominators together. So 1 times 1 is 1 and 2 times 3 is 6. You take a look at your answer in the end and you make sure it's in simplest form. That's all there is to multiplying fractions. You multiply the numerators together and you multiply the denominators together, and then check and make sure it's in simplest form. Let's take a look at another one. Here, this isn't a fraction. It's a whole number being multiplied by a fraction. So what we have to do is we have to change this whole number into a fraction. The fastest way to change a fraction into, the fastest way to change a whole number into a fraction is to simply put it over 1. Because we have two pieces that are cut into one piece. So in other words, that means you have two whole rectangles. We have two pieces that are cut into one. We're going to multiply that times 3/4. Now I'm going to show you a little trick in order to make sure that you get your answer in simplest form to end up over here. What you do is you look diagonally and you look to see if these two numbers have anything in common. Is there some number that can go into both 2 and 4? Yes, 2 goes into both 2 and 4. So that means I'm going to simplify it right now. 2 goes into 2 once and 2 goes into 4 twice. Now I'm going to use these new numbers when I multiply my numerators and my denominators together. 1 times 3 is 3, and 1 times 2 is 2. And there we have the fraction 3/2. This is sometimes known as an improper fraction because the numerator is larger than the denominator. So sometimes you need to change it so that it's known as a mixed number. So you ask yourself, how many times does 2 go into 3? It goes in once. With how many are left over? There's going to be 1/2 left over. And I'll actually show you what this looks like. So this is, here's our first rectangle cut into halves, and here's our second one. Because remember, we have 3 halves. Here's 1/2, here's another half, and here's our third half. So one way to say that is that you have 3 halves, and another way to say it is that you have one whole piece and half of another piece. So these two things are the same. So the way I did that was, the first thing I did was I changed the whole number 2 into a fraction by putting it over 1, and then I looked diagonally to see if there was any simplifying that I could do, and I saw that 2 and 4 have a common number, 2, and I simplified them, and then I multiplied those new numbers, the new numerator by this numerator, and this new denominator times this one, to get our answer. Let's give another one a try. Here we have 2 and 2/7 multiplied by 3/8. And the way we're going to go about doing this one is, the first thing that you should do is change 2 and 2/7 into a mixed number. So I'm going to see what is 7 times 2. 7 times 2 is 14, and then I'm going to add the numerator and I'm going to get 16. So that'd be 16/7. Because if I had 2 whole pieces here and I divided them into 7ths, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There I have 2 pieces that are cut into 7ths, and I'm going to have one more So that means I have this piece right here and this piece right there for the 2/7, and then I have all of this up here. So how many little pieces cut into 7 do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16/7. So the way I did that without having to draw it out, 7 times 2 plus 2. So you multiply the denominator times the whole number, and you add the numerator. 16/7 times 3/8. Remember in that last example I showed you how to look diagonally and see if any of the numbers share anything in common? 7 and 3 don't have anything in common, but 8 and 16 do. 8 goes into both of them. 8 goes into 8 once, and 8 goes into 16 twice. Now I'm going to use these new numbers when I multiply. Remember, you're going to multiply the numerators together. 2 times 3 is 6, and 7 times 1 is 7. That answer is in simplest form. You can't simplify that anymore. There you go. The answer is 6/7. Last one. I'm going to make sure that I change this mixed number into an improper fraction. So I'm going to multiply the denominator times the whole number. So 5 times 4 is 20. And I'm going to add the numerator. So that's 22/5 times 1/2. Going to look diagonally to see if they have anything in common. 5 and 1 don't have anything in common, but 2 and 22 do. 2, and the number they have in common is 2. 2 goes into 2 once, and 2 goes into 22 11 times. I'm going to multiply these new numbers together. 1 times 11 is 11, and 1 times 5 is 5. You could either leave your answer like that, or you could change it into a mixed number. So you ask yourself, how many times does 5 go into 11? It goes in twice, and 5 times 2 is 10. That means there's 1 left over, and you just bring the denominator down. So our answer is 2 and 1/5. So multiplying fractions. If they're not mixed numbers, you can just multiply the numerators by the denominators and then make sure it's in simplest form. If you want to take a little shortcut, you can look diagonally to see if they have anything in common, and if they do, you can simplify and then multiply. The last thing you need to worry about is when you have mixed numbers, change them into improper fractions first, look diagonally to see if there's any simplifying you can do, and then multiply.